If you drive a diesel truck in the United States, stop scrolling and listen closely. The rules that govern your livelihood, your truck, and your bottom line just changed overnight, and the shockwaves are only beginning to spread. For years, you've battled with a system that feels designed to work against you. We're talking about the constant threat of derates, the endless sensor failures, and the crippling cost of downtime. It's a nightmare every owner-operator knows intimately. But now, the EPA has just dropped a regulatory bombshell that could kill the single most hated feature in modern trucking, the dreaded DEF limp mode. This isn't a rumor from a truck stop counter. It's a proposed rule change that could fundamentally alter the emission systems that have plagued the industry for over a decade. The very thought of a future without being stranded by a faulty sensor seems too good to be true. But before you celebrate, a bigger storm is brewing on the West Coast. While the federal government signals a potential retreat, the state of California is going rogue. The California Air Resources Board, or CARB, is doubling down, forging ahead with its own aggressive emissions timeline that creates a separate, more stringent set of rules for any truck operating within its borders. This isn't just a state regulation, it's a move that threatens to splinter the entire national trucking market, creating a compliance nightmare for fleets and independent operators who cross state lines. A showdown is imminent, pitting federal policy against state authority, with your business caught directly in the crossfire. This conflict is triggering a market-wide pre-buy panic. With the looming threat of ultra-expensive and unproven 2027 model year trucks, and California's rules taking effect even sooner, fleets are scrambling to buy up every available pre-regulation truck they can find. This isn't just speculation, it's happening now. Today, we dive deep into the numbers, the laws taking effect now through March 2026, and the strategies you need to consider. We'll analyze how this unprecedented pre-buy is already distorting the new and used truck markets, and more importantly, why the truck you're sitting in right now might be your single most valuable asset, or your biggest liability. The stakes have never been higher. This is about more than just regulations. It's about your survival in an industry on the brink of a seismic shift. Let's get into the facts. The DEF nightmare, limp mode, has sidelined drivers for years. One glitchy sensor and your truck derates. Warning, torque cut, then 5 miles per hour. Missed loads, tow bills, dealer fees, millions lost across the industry. Then, in a move that sent shockwaves through the industry, the Environmental Protection Agency took a sudden, unprecedented step in February 2026. The agency issued a formal demand for raw failure data from 14 of the biggest names in engine manufacturing. We're talking about a group that represents a staggering 80% of the entire market, from Cummins to Detroit Diesel, Packer to Volvo. This wasn't a friendly request, it was a mandate. The deadline was aggressive. Just 30 days to hand over years of sensitive warranty claims, detailed repair logs, and comprehensive service records. The question on everyone's mind was simple: why? For over a decade, the EPA's stance on emission systems had been rigid, enforcing rules that often left drivers stranded and repair shops overwhelmed. This sudden demand for data signaled a potential pivot, a crack in the regulatory wall that had defined the modern trucking era. The answer lies in the agency's quiet plan to finally address the industry's biggest headache. The EPA is now preparing to pull back the most severe heavy-duty derate rules. More importantly, it is signaling a new willingness to allow software updates as a primary solution to prevent sudden, catastrophic shutdowns. This means those infamous I-80 shoulder strandings, the ones caused by a faulty $50 sensor forcing a truck into limp mode in the middle of nowhere, may finally come to an end. It's a potential lifeline for every owner-operator who has lost time and money to a system that often felt more punitive than protective. But not everyone is on the same page. California is doubling down with its clean truck check. Fees and emissions tests for any non-gasoline truck over 14,000 pounds operating in the state, including out-of-state plates. In late January, the EPA disapproved California's rule for out-of-state trucks, citing the Commerce Clause. The feds told CARB they can't impose California-specific costs on the nation's supply chain. But what was California's response to the EPA's reversal? In a move that surprised few who follow the state's politics, they refused to back down. Citing their long-standing authority to set their own, stricter air quality standards, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, essentially told the federal government that its new policy wouldn't fly in the Golden State. This wasn't just a simple disagreement. It was a direct challenge, rooted in decades of California carving out its own environmental path, often far ahead of the rest of the nation. In official statements, CARB declared that the EPA has no authority over its independent state-level air programs. They argued that the federal enforcement discretion was a step backward and irrelevant to their mandate to protect California's air. So, while the rest of the country operated under one set of relaxed rules, California became an island of stringent enforcement, doubling down on its own regulations. The message was clear: federal policy stops at the state line. On the ground, the consequences were immediate and severe. Drivers began reporting a wave of fines and registration threats, despite the federal pushback. The enforcement was relentless. Surprise citations at weigh stations, aggressive compliance checks on the roadside, and violation notices arriving in the mail, threatening to place holds on vehicle registrations. For a trucker, a registration hold is a death sentence for their business. The message from California officials felt brutally simple: pay up, fix it, or park it. There was no room for excuses about supply chain shortages or federal guidance. It's a high-stakes regulatory game of chicken, with truckers and owner-operators caught squarely in the middle, forced to navigate a confusing and contradictory legal landscape where a single border crossing could mean the difference between compliance and a crippling penalty. Meanwhile, the 2027 federal emissions standards are locked in. The targets for NOx and CO2 are aggressive, pushing more complex after-treatment and control systems under the hood. Veteran drivers remember 2007 and 2010, first-gen DPF and SCR headaches, shops packed, reliability punished early adopters. Many fear history will repeat with 2027 technology. Two impacts hit your bottom line. First, sticker shock. Analysts project 2027. Compliant trucks will cost $10,000 to $20,000 more. Second, reliability roulette. Few want to be the guinea pig. That's why a pre-buy frenzy is underway. Mega fleets and savvy owner-operators are placing big orders for 2025 and 2026 trucks to stock reliable pre-2027 engines. This surge creates supply bottlenecks at manufacturers. If you plan to upgrade, the window to avoid the 2027 premium is closing fast. Used truck values are set to spike. Just like the glider kit rush, clean 2020-2025 tractors will become prized assets. If your rig is reliable, preventative maintenance could be your best investment this year. Don't trade it in yet. Bottom line, the regulatory landscape is fracturing and costs are rising again. EPA versus CARB, software fixes versus roadside enforcement. Know your lanes and your risk. What's your strategy? Hold your current truck or pre-buy before 2027? Have you been stranded by a fake DEF derate? Your decisions in 2026 could define your next decade.